Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got a very slim win for Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 2. Now as usual, I'll cover that on the desktop in a wee second, and I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who this week I have been told, seize life and shake it, which is a very Ork point of view, as we'll see as we look through the book. Now, the freedom these people give me from the support they give me allow me to make videos on quirky games which will not get the massive views that the YouTube algorithm tells me I should be chasing. And it's this freedom I totally appreciate and really respect, because those are the videos I want to make. I don't want to go chasing the big crowds with endless Dungeons & Dragons videos. I want to be looking at Earthdawn and Dogs in the Vineyard and quirky little games which we can look through together and have some fun examining. Now, if you'd like to join my Patreons and help support the channel, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to see one of the other levels of patronage we've got, then I've got a Patreon in the description down below. If you check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 2. So, this is Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 2. It's for Earthdawn, funnily enough. It's by FASA and it came out in 1994. And it's the second of the two volumes detailing the name-giving races, the playable races, within Earthdawn. Now, not only is it detailing some of the very different races you get to play, but it's also explaining the races which are more common in fantasy, but how they are played very, very differently in Earthdawn. Because Earthdawn kind of started at fantasy, your stock Tolkien-esque version of fantasy, and moved on from there. The history of the world has shaped the races in very different ways. Anyway, let's have a look at the back cover. The Name Givers. 8 name-giving races dwell in the land of Barsaive, each with its own culture and traditions. Despite their differences, they are bound by shared experiences, beliefs, and love for their land. Together they embody the heart and soul of Barsaive. Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 2 provides an in-depth look at 4 of the name-giving races of Barsaive. Dwarfs. Stout and stubborn, the industrious dwarves are the cultural and political leaders of Barsaive. Obsidimen. Ancient beings of living rock, these stone giants are perhaps the oldest and most mysterious denizens of Barsaive. Orks. Passionate and savage, their love for life is surpassed only by their love for battle. Trolls. Bestial in appearance, these gargantuan mountain dwellers are both fierce and honourable. Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 2 details the dwarves, orcs, Obsidimen and trolls in detail, provides race-specific disciplines, new talents, and special rules for playing each race. Heavily illustrated, this fascinating and valuable reference for Earthdawn players and gamemasters alike. Inside, well, FASA, with their Shadowrun books, had got presentation down pat. It's beautifully laid out. The artwork is very, very nice. I especially like the style. I'm not that keen on them using the standard papyrus font for some of the contents pages, because it's so cliched nowadays. But I suppose in 1994 it hadn't become a cliche yet. Continuing in, on the writing of the Denizens of Barsaive, so an introduction section. And then we're straight into the dwarves. Well, dwarves are slightly different in Barsaive, as they are still the standard dwarves who live underground, who create things on forges. They're manufacturers on the making of tools, for example, and the importance of building all the things in one's home. They are definitely into crafting. However, they see themselves as the base of Barsaive civilization, because they are the ones which had everything to start trading to the other races as they emerged. Dwarven is the trade language. So they are the political soul of it. They're the people that brought everybody else together. So on dwarves as builders, making of tools, connections between craftsmanship and artistry. On the architecture and affinity with the earth. This is all standard dwarf thing. On loyalty among the dwarves. The effect of the scourge on tribal loyalties. Because the dwarves came together very much, because being the underground race and everybody else hiding out in underground cares, they lent on the dwarves heavily for experience in building underground and how they would survive. So the dwarves very much helped everybody else through the beginning of the Scourge, when magic rose, the horrors arrived and made the surface completely uninhabitable. We've got things about on the fealty to the kingdom, on the place of the dwarves in Barsaive, on the meaning of dwarf fables, on the manner of dwarves towards other name-givers. So it goes through how they feel about other name-giving races. I've got a few colour plates. It repeats this throughout, to 4 colour plates for each race. A young dwarf learns the importance of craftsmanship from a grandparent. A dwarf warrior with his face painted for battle. Elaborate carvings inlaid stone grace the surfaces of a dwarf hammer and battle axe, showing the artistry that they use. Dwarf Death Widow. A young dwarf in the summer house of his grandparents. Very, very nice colour plates. And continuing with the background, we've got on the culture of dwarfs, on artistic endeavour and craftsmanship, on rituals marking the passage of life. So this is fairly standard dwarvish things, where we've started off with Tolkien-esque dwarves, but we've added to them. We've made what being the first race to manufacture stuff has laid them out, what position in the world. And then we're on the Obsidimen. Obsidimen are stone elementals. They are a spirit bound with earth. They are big walking rock men. So we've got a talk about first encounter with an Obsidimen, on the nature of them, on feelings and behaviour among Obsidimen, because they don't really have families as such. They emerge from the earth. On the reason for venturing out into the world, on the Obsidimen way of life. What else we got? On the brotherhood as family, because they don't have families. This is how they are. They are brothers with all other Obsidimen. On birth and coming of age, how they emerge. Obsidimen refer to the long process of what we call birthing, childhood, and coming of age with a single word, emergence. The emergence ritual, first merging and awakening. The emergence ritual corresponds most closely to birth, though it is unlike any birth I have ever seen. Continuing through, on the ritual of awakening, we've got more information there, because it is so different. Whereas you can look at an orc and say it was born from its mother and father, Obsidimen are just totally different, so we've got lots about that. On the final return to the life rock, so what happens towards the end of their life, their culture and myths, on artistic endeavour, on their craft. What else we got? On meaningful adornments, on the wondrous complexities of Obsidimen language. And then we come to the colour plates. Going back on dealings with the world in its residents. So how Obsidimen deal with other races. Because they are so alien, they have very different relationships. Anyway, the colour plates, a group of Obsidimen arriving at the legendary Valley of Elders. Though not innate as dwarves or elves, Obsidimen craftsmanship possesses a stark beauty often missed by other name-givers. This quality is evident in tools and weapons, as it is in pottery and sculpture. After years of painstaking work, Tanamania, Obsidimen potter puts the finishing touches on one of his creations. Otanamia? Not quite sure of the pronunciation of that one. The different clothing, the ceremonial robes they wear, and painting on their actual rocky skin. Brotherhood stands witness to the ritual of emergence, as some Obsidimen emerge from the rocks. Continuing through the background, you know how Obsidimen relate to disciplines. On Obsidimen and Thera, and the Therans, the enslaving race which is invading Barsaive. On diverse customs among Obsidimen. Tripping off my own tongue. Customs common to them. And then we're on to revelations of the true nature of orcs. So, orcs are fairly violent creatures, as they are in most fantasy. However, they have a reason for that. The orcs were enslaved as an entire species for a long period, and gained their freedom. So they prize freedom above all. So while it might seem that they are uncontrolled, raging beasts to some, it's this love of freedom, on seizing life and shaking it. That's what they like to do. It's an actual concept within their culture that you should seize life and shake it. You should make most of it, because orcs are the shortest lived of the name-giving races as well. So not only are they looking for their freedom, they're looking for a purpose in life to live it well and quickly. On the 3 ways of Orks, we've got some colour plates. Cracked Skull Ironfang of the Thunderer Cavalry charges into battle. The Broken Sword of Taken the Slayer, who destroyed the horror of Algothra. Orc cavalrymen artisans often craft their works from the reins of slain mounts. And human merchant Sudlow learns firsthand the dangers of triggering an Orc's Gahad. Gahad is the sort of rage that Orcs will have, often when they feel that they're being looked down upon, they're not being treated as equals, or that somebody's trying to take control of them. Their passions on Orc ways and customs, and it sort of details that on what stuff they make and their view on other races. And then we're on to the remarkable nature and ways of trolls. Now, trolls, like Orcs in Shadowrun, are one of the larger races. They are seen as short-lived and a bit stupid. But trolls in Earthdawn are very, very different. They are the mountain dwellers. They live at the tops of the mountains. And as such, they have used the magic that's innate to everybody to create skyships. So they are the Sky Raiders, the Sky Pirates. But they are also very much bound by ritual and tradition. So we've got sections here on the meanings of honour. They are very honourable creatures, and they will tend to look at other races who don't treat honour strictly, most notably the Windlings, who are fun, frivolous, practical joke-playing beings, who show their friendship by making fun of their friends. Well, trolls won't accept that at all. That'll take them as a slight on their honour. So Windlings often don't get on with trolls. Society of Trolls, on the ways of Highland Trolls, on becoming outcasts, the different Highland Troll clans, the unique customs of the Crystal Raiders, who clash with the Therans. Crag Bonesnapper confronts the mighty horror Zeko-Zeth in the Badlands. Sounding the horn signifies the beginning of the Jitar, the Holding. Examples of troll weaponry and craftsmanship. A troll co-wife courts a potential new addition to her line. Troll horns and facial features widely vary among clans and families. So you get ones which have almost horns, whereas ones are just growths. They're not as equal. And troll battleships escort a merchant ship through hostile territory, the flying ships they use. And continuing on, the various rituals of life, names and naming, and marriage customs, and the evolution of line marriage, custom of paying court, their acceptance of death. They are, again, a shorter-lived ones, longer-lived than the Orcs, but they live in a very dangerous place, so they accept death as a fact of life. Some famous characters from it, the creation of art, craftsmanship between them, on matters of manners and social custom, finding privacy within, on nudity as a violation of privacy, the various things they don't like, the significance of horns, the curious custom of boasting, their view of other races, and it shows that they don't like Windlings. They do look down on Orcs as little brothers, and would never do anything to harm them, but of course the Orcs' view of being looked down upon means that can lead to disagreements between Orcs and Trolls. They respect Dwarven lineage, the continuation of their society, and the fact that they manufacture things, but they find elves as flitting as Windlings. They dislike humans quite strongly, because humans cannot be categorized easily. They are very variable. And Tuskrang, well, they find Tuskrang uncultured. Let's put it that way. And that's the end of the section on the name-giving races. We've got game information. So, role-playing hints. It talks through the Dwarfs, aspects to what you should take into consideration while playing them. We've got Obsidimen, the Orcs and the Trolls. And then we've got a section on disciplines. So, some new disciplines. These are basically the classes that you play. So we've had some races. We've got the Liberator. So an Orc discipline based about freeing people from slavery. We've got Outcast Warriors, the Trolls who are outcast from their civilization. Purifiers, dedicate themselves to healing the scars left on the world by the horrors. An Obsidimen one. And we've got the Travelled Scholar, a dwarf one of somebody spreading knowledge. We've got different talents, so these are the sort of magical abilities where people can heal things, they can get information, they can hide, etc. We've got questors. Members of each name-giver race tend to become questors for specific passions. It details out why they might become a questor. We've got special rules for dwarves, Obsidimen, the blood magic, loyalty to the life rock. As I said, the Obsidimen have the most different background, so there's a lot of things you can add in to playing them. We've got the Orks, the Gahad, their rage, which is described as being like an upset stomach, heartburn, sensation similar to intense heartburn, which doesn't feel like a rage to me. But we've got a glossary of Orc words. We've got the trolls, creating piecemeal armour, patching things up for someone as big as them. We've got their karma rituals, and then a glossary of their language, and an index to find everything in here, because there's so much. Now, I really like this book. I love Earthdawn to bits. I think the name-giving races are really interesting. Even dwarves, who are the closest to being standard fantasy dwarves, have this extra level of what being a dwarf has meant beyond that. How they have built civilization, how they feel at the core of politics, how they feel at the core of bringing the other races together, especially as the Scourge came across the world and they had to aid the other species in surviving. It's fantastic stuff. I really like this book, as I really loved the previous book. So that was Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 2, which won the poll this week with some 28% of the vote, which was only a single vote ahead of the second place Inventory Weapons of the World for Twilight 2000 on 27%. And while I would have loved to have covered Inventory Weapons of the World, I do love me some Twilight 2000. It's a great game with a great setting. As I've stated before, Earthdawn is one of my favourite fantasy settings, and it was an absolute joy to return and get to cover it once more, especially as it's been a while since I last got to cover it. Behind that was Rifts Book 12, Skyscape, for Rifts funnily enough, on 20%. And then in joint last place was the Stargazer's Tribe book for Werewolf the Apocalypse, and the Brotherhood book for Mutant Chronicles, both on 13%. And they'd have been fun to cover, but alas, not this time. We'll get around to them. They are great books, all of them. Now, as usual, they're all cleared out, and we're going back to a Retro Adventures poll. And once again, this week, I'm a bit pushed for time. Basically, I'm losing a day due to an event I have to visit at the end of the week. So I'm going to be trying to cram things into other parts of my week. So I'm putting only in adventures that I'm familiar with. And I run many of these, so I'm very familiar with them. So first of all, we've got San Francisco Knights for Cyborg Commando. Now, Cyborg Commando I've slagged off in the past. It was Gary Gygax's game after he left Dungeons & Dragons and TSR, and it's a bit of a quirky, odd game where they tried to decimalize time and various things like that. But it'd be lovely to look through the first adventure and see what direction they took the game in. Next up, we've got Scared Stiffs for the Ghostbusters role-playing game. Now, I've covered the first one, Ghost Toasties for Ghostbusters, which was fantastic. And this is a hilarious adventure where the Ghostbusters go up against their arch-enemy, an efficient version of the Ghostbusters. People who follow the rules, are tidy, are clean, are efficient. And that's the worst thing the Ghostbusters can face, because they're a shambles. It's a great adventure where the Ghostbusters end up teaming up with ghosts. Next after that, we've got the Perfect Warrior for the Street Fighter role-playing game. Now, Street Fighter role-playing game's a real oddity because it's a beat-em-up role-playing game by White Wolf Publishing, who are the people who came out with the World of Darkness games, Vampire, Werewolf, Mage, etc. So they were dealing with all these angsty games where you were working out how your character was doomed. And then they came up with a game where you just beat the hell out of people. And it's really fun, so it'd be fun to cover the adventure. After that, we've got Nightwalker, The Villy Affair for Millennium's End, I keep putting Millennium's End in. It never features very highly in the polls, but we'll get there one day. Millennium's End is a fantastic techno spy thriller game where the players are in society as it's starting to collapse in the lead up to the millennium and dealing with James Bond type threats. It's kind of James Bond crossed with cyberpunk, to tell the truth. It's a great fun game, has some fantastic rules, and I would love to cover this adventure because I've run it before and had a load of fun running it. And finally, we've got the Key of Deliriad for Slay Industries. Now, Slay Industries is my local game. It was written in Paisley, which is only 20 miles away from where I'm sitting. The guys have moved their offices for their company to Cumnock, which is about 15 miles in the other direction. They passed me by as they moved. But Slay Industries is a load of fun, kind of cyberpunk type of game with a large corporation dominating the galaxy and dominating loads of alien races. And they didn't really publish many adventures for it. So it'd be really interesting to look at the one adventure they did publish for this game. What else have I been doing? Well, over on DriveThruRPG, I've been publishing sci-fi character classes for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. This is in the build-up to where I'm going to be releasing a setting where people from across space and time come together in one place. And I'm setting up the character classes. I've been doing pirate ones and Wild West ones and modern horror and Victorian horror, so people can come across space and time and you can choose what kind of character you want from those things. I'm having a load of fun, and I've got a few more settings which I'm looking into, probably some feudal Japan. I'm avoiding medieval because that just seems a bit obvious, but different settings through time and space. The Renaissance, for example. I think I pronounced that really badly. But anyway, creating all these character classes to come together in one place towards the end. But I'm getting the character classes out now, and obviously if you were running an adventure in these times, these classes would be quite useful to you. But Patreons of Lord or Laird and Librarian status can get access to these on a shared Google Drive. So if you're interested in getting access to all of them rather than going to DriveThruRPG and picking them up one by one, then the Patreon's in the description down below. If you check it out and join up one of those statuses, you can get access to everything, which is almost 500 booklets by now. Over on RPG Gamer, well, I'm still working my way through the Knights of the Old Republic comics, but I'm going to be taking a break from that because the Acolyte series has now ended, and I've had a load of fun reviewing those, and now I'm going to be working through it, doing the stats episode by episode and building them up for the Star Wars D6 system. So if you're a fan of that system, or you've liked the Acolyte and want to see what my point of view about it was, then check out RPG Gamer. Apart from that, not been up to much, and I think I've been waffling on for quite long enough. So thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.